Lord Lieutenant, Provost, Mr. Gregorian, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the congregation and Kirk session of the Abbey Church of Dunfermline, I welcome you to this ancient historic building and active community. I, of course, also welcome you to an historic occasion as we take time this morning to dedicate the Carnegie Tiffany window in its new home within the Abbey Church of Dunfermline building. My job as minister is when needed to guide you through this morning's programme of music, words and song. For the most part, it will happen naturally, but occasionally I will leap to my feet. Then I have to dedicate the window and offer a blessing. The ceremony includes local people, young and the not so young, and words and music with a Scottish and American flavour. In a moment, I will hand over to Ian Wilson, who is the chair of the Carnegie Dunfermline and Hero Fund Trusts, for words of welcome and a fuller explanation for our gathering. Before that, perhaps mainly for those who are here in the Abbey Church for the first time, I thought I would offer a potted history of this building. And then for everyone, there's a thought on why a window, not just a Tiffany window, is an important part of a faith tradition and perhaps the whole of our lives. So the history. In the annals of Dunfermline, it's suggested that there was a Chaldee community in Dunfermline somewhere between 570 AD and 1070 AD. When you wander back through into the nave, you'll discover that close to the west door, there are markings on the floor relating to a 9th century building that gives an indication of the size, but possibly not the place, of the original Chaldee church. Dunfermline's links to royalty are firmly established in the 11th century when, having been married in the Chaldee church, Queen Margaret established a Benedictine community on this site. There are further markings on the floor out in the nave showing the size of a larger church established in her time. The nave through which you have entered is part of the legacy of a larger church built by her son David I. In the centuries that followed, there were additions made to the abbey, including the buttresses, the northwest porch, which unfortunately because of recent vandalism is currently closed off, the bell tower, and the St. Margaret Shrine, which is almost behind, must be directly behind me, outside the vestry. And so if you wander out towards St. Margaret Street, you will pass the shrine. Following the Reformation, the east end of the Abbey, this area in which you're now seated, was no longer used and it fell into disrepair. It was completely ruined when the central lantern tower fell in 1716. This newer part of the Abbey was rebuilt in 1818, and from 2018 until 2021, we are celebrating 200 years of this building being where it is. The upkeep and treasuring of this building has continued to be important to those who form this community and to others in the almost 2 centuries that have followed. The Abbey Church of Dunfermline is more than a building, though, and as it continues to welcome and encourage a lively congregation who seek to live out their Christian faith in Dunfermline and beyond. One of the ways in which we hope to share our faith and offer an encounter with something that is other to our humanity is in attempting to ensure that our part of the building is open from around late March until the end of October each year. As you can imagine, the costs of maintaining and running this size of building are significant, and these are met almost entirely from congregational giving. Of course, we're always pleased and grateful to receive help and support for the variety of projects that are happening and the plans we have for the future. If you speak to those who are on the door, they might tell you how. I'm sure that there will be other opportunities for thank yous throughout today, but on behalf of the Kirk session and the congregation, we are thankful for those who have encouraged and supported this project, not least to the Carnegie Dunfermline Trust, who initiated the idea of the Carnegie Tiffany window finding a home within the life of our community, but also to Dunard Fund and the Carnegie Corporation of New York for their generosity enabling the project to happen. The timing of the request and the activity fell nicely in a moment when we as a Christian community are listening for how best we play our part in our local community as we share our faith. The Carnegie Tiffany window offers an opportunity for us all to reflect upon the importance of windows, and particularly of stained glass within faith traditions. There's an ancient Hebrew understanding of the world where stars are the windows of heaven through which floodwaters pour into the world. And it's that sense that the prophet Malachi says, "See if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down for you an overflowing blessing." In times when many people could not read or write, stained glass window became an important way of ensuring that people knew the stories of faith. Today, they still contribute to the retelling of the story, both biblical and historical, offering reflections of the world of faith and occasionally of the world beyond. A window speaks without a word being spoken. The Carnegie Tiffany window comes with a story of why it was made and the many reasons for its journey. But in bringing it to be part of this faith's space, we hope it allows many, whether they be pilgrims of faith or on a more secular journey, a moment to reflect and pause and wonder. Let me invite Ian Wilson to say a little bit more about why we are here.
Good morning. On behalf of the trustees of the Carnegie, Dunfermline and Hero Fund Trusts, I would like to add my welcome to you on this historic occasion. I would like to extend a special welcome to all of our invited guests, and in particular, the Lord Lieutenant of Fife, Robert Balfour, the Lord Provost of Fife, Jim Leishman, to Ellen Wan, the Principal Officer in the US Consulate in Edinburgh, to Vartan Gregorian, President of the Carnegie Corporation in New York, and to William Thomson, the great-grandson of Andrew Carnegie, and his son, Charles, the great-great-grandson of Andrew Carnegie. And to those of you who've traveled a great distance to be with us today, and those of you who've only come a short distance in your journey, you're all most welcome. We're here today to dedicate the Tiffany window in this magnificent and historic abbey, and in so doing, to mark the centenary of the death of Andrew Carnegie, Dunfermline's most famous son, and to celebrate his continuing legacy. During this year of the centenary, there's been a particular focus on Carnegie's agenda for peace, which he pursued right up to the end of the First World War and on until the time of his own death in 1919. During his lifetime, he funded the excavation of a major dinosaur find in the USA, and the resulting skeleton, which can still be seen in the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh, became affectionately known as Dippy. Andrew Carnegie gifted replicas of Dippy to many heads of state at the beginning of the last century in attempts to broker talks on world peace. And although these attempts did not succeed, his legacy to work for peace remains today. Earlier this year, as part of the centenary celebrations, the UK replica of Dippy was brought to an exhibition in Scotland for 4 months. And this again allowed us to shine a light on the peace aspect of his legacy. The laying of wreaths at the Andrew Carnegie statue in his beloved Pittencrieff Park yesterday, 100 years to the day since his death, together with the Tiffany window dedication here today, are the latest 2 events that we in the Carnegie Dunfermline Trust have organized to recognize this significant anniversary. Our year of celebrating his enduring legacy will conclude in November, when a new portrait of Andrew Carnegie will be created by Scottish artist Callum Colvin during a week's residency in the Andrew Carnegie Birthplace Museum. Those of us, past and present, tasked by Andrew Carnegie to take his legacy forward through work for peace, education, culture, and well-being, have attempted to fulfill his vision for the last 100 years, and we look forward with excitement to whatever the next 100 years may bring.
A Man's a Man for All That by Robert Burns. is there for honest poverty that hangs its head and all that. The coward slave, we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that. For all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that. The rank is but a guinea's stamp, the man's a gowd for all that. What though in hamely fair we dine, wear hodden grey and all that. Gie fools their skills and knaves their wine, a man's a man for all that. For all that and all that, their tinsel show and all that. The honest man, though e'er so poor, is king o' men for all that. Ye see yon Burkie, cowardly a lord, wha struts and stares and all that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that. The man o' independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. A prince can mak a belted knight, a marquis, duke, and all that. But an honest man, aboon his might, gied faith he mauna for that. For all that and all that, their dignities and all that, the pith o' sense and pride o' worth are higher rank than all that. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will, for all that sense and worth o'er all of earth shall bear the gree and all that. For all that and all that, it's coming yet for all that man to man, the world o'er, shall brothers be for all that.
Andrew Carnegie was born and spent the first 12 years of his life here in Dunfermline. His sister Anne and his brother Thomas were also born in Dunfermline. To him, it was therefore natural to want to recognize this background by commissioning a memorial window for his family, by then all deceased, to stand in the historic Abbey of the place of his birth. Carnegie was familiar with the work of Tiffany in New York and had already commissioned them to create an entrance canopy for his mansion in Manhattan. Therefore, when, in 1913, he decided to commission the commemorative window for the Dunfermline Abbey, he again turned to Tiffany in New York. Tiffany glass was unusual and innovative in every sense, and the pastoral design that Carnegie selected, whilst it resulted in an outstanding piece of artwork in glass, did not meet the approval of the then commissions of ancient monuments who were responsible for the Abbey, and so the window was never installed. Many of you present will remember much of the local history of this magnificent window. You possibly saw it in the Carnegie Hall. That's the one here in Dunfermline, in case our American colleagues think they've missed something at home. You may have seen the Tiffany window when it was located in the Tiffany Cafe, adjacent to the Carnegie Hall. Or finally, you may have seen it in the joint headquarters building of the Dunfermline-based Carnegie Trusts, where it has been located since 2007. The window's had a checkered history since it originally arrived in Dunfermline, presenting many challenges of conservation and physical support along the way, resulting in long periods of storage and rest, at one point spending nearly a quarter of a century in storage in the cellar below the Carnegie swimming baths. And for another lengthy period, it was covered in blackout curtains in the Carnegie Hall because it was giving odd reflections to the stage lighting. Therefore, finding the right environment in every sense to ensure its accessibility and sustainability for posterity has been paramount to all of us who have cared for the window over the years.
Whilst my great-grandfather very much wished for the window to be installed here in his lifetime, he died before this was possible and was not to know what the next 100 years would bring. With the approach of the centenary of his death, many of us looked to find an enduring way of marking this significant occasion in a way which he would have approved of. At this time, as we have heard, the window was having to be removed from Andrew Carnegie House, where it had been for 10 years. A modern, highly heated environment had proved detrimental to the condition of the old glass, and after conservation, there was a concern for its future. With the centenary approaching and the future of the window unresolved, there emerged a previously unconsidered opportunity that maybe the window could finally be installed where it was originally intended. And what better way to mark the centenary of Andrew Carnegie's death than by fulfilling the wishes he had for the window? Dialogue was then started amongst all of those with an interest in the window, those upholding the working legacy of Carnegie himself and the Abbey and the church. Like Carnegie, the story of this window represents commitment, determination, innovation, change, vision, and some controversy. It is also a beautiful work of art, and its future destiny touches many beyond Dunfermline. I am therefore honored, on behalf of the descendants of Andrew Carnegie and his working trusts and institutions, to see this window gifted on his behalf to the Abbey Church of Dunfermline, where it will stand as he wished in memory of his family amongst the other stained glass windows of this historic venue. MaryAnn, as minister of this church, will you receive this gift?
On behalf of this congregation, I gratefully receive this gift. I'm going to invite Ian and William and those in the front row who feel able to come with me round to the window. For the rest of you, you want to stand and turn yourselves so you can see the window, and then I will dedicate the window. In the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, I dedicate this Tiffany window to the glory of God in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Let's draw near to God in prayer and let us pray. Eternal God, you are the source of light, warming creation that heaven and earth might reflect your presence. As we accept this gift, may you bring wonder and awe to those who encounter the colour and light that falls through this window. In the serenity and peaceful nature, bring a pause to the pace of life, so that those who hurry on might stop. May eyes get caught in the branches of the tree, allowing time to survey the scenery of the world. As the colours respond to emotions and thoughts, let our stumbling lives be guided through the unknown, to be enlightened with a new understanding of a holy presence in our life. We thank you for the inspiration that brought this gift for the use and beauty of your sanctuary. May we and all who survey the scene enjoy the kindness and generosity of those involved in new possibilities. We give thanks for the labours of those who've prepared for this day, for the skills of the artists and conservators, and the labourers and craftsmen, all adding to your design. Storytelling presence. You paint the pictures in words expressing the hope of a world where justice and compassion reign. Draw our eyes to the pictures you have made in creation, that we might notice heaven in our midst and be prepared to meet you in the guise of friend and stranger, and be changed by the experience because of you. Amen. Please all be seated. As we pause to reflect, Matthew Beetschen is going to play for us on the organ, and he's playing Vrede door Recht, which I know is also known as the Carnegie Peace March.
Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem. And cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, that her iniquity is pardoned. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, shall be exalted, shall be exalted, shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill made low, the crooked straight, and the rough places plain, the crooked straight, and rough places plain, and the rough places plain. Every valley shall be exalted, every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill made low, the crooked straight, and the rough places plain, and the rough places plain, and the rough places plain. The crooked straight,
From boyhood, Andrew Carnegie was both a keen reader and author who covered topics as diverse as international peace, democracy, and business. There is one theme that runs through most of his writings, and that is his love of literature. Here are some of his thoughts. Most anxious to give you the best advice in my power, I advise you to cultivate the taste for reading. When I was a boy in my teens in Allengi City, Colonel Anderson, whose memory I must ever revere, who had a few hundred books, gave notice that he would lend these books every Saturday afternoon to boys and young men. You cannot imagine with what anxiety some of us who embraced this opportunity to obtain knowledge looked forward to every Saturday afternoon when we could get one book exchanged for another. It is from personal experience that I feel that there is no human arrangement so powerful for good. There is no benefit that can be bestowed upon a community so great as that which places within reach of all the treasures of the world which are stored up in books. The feeling which prevails in some quarters against is fiction. In my opinion, only prejudice. I know that some, indeed most, of the most eminent men find in a good work of fiction one of the best means of enjoyment and rest. When exhausted in mind and body, and especially in mind, nothing is so beneficial to them as to read a good novel. It is no disparagement of free libraries that most of the works read are often works of fiction. On the contrary, it is doubtful if any other form of literature would so well serve the important end of lifting hard-working men out of the prosaic and routine duties of life. The really precious things of this world are its books. To do things is not one half of the battle. To be able to tell the world what you have done, that is the greater accomplishment. What a man says too often outlives what he does, even when he does great things. Every Scotchman is two Scotchmen, as his land has the wild, barren, stern crags and mountain peaks around which tempests blow, and also the smiling valleys below where the wild rose, the foxglove, and the bluebell blossom. So the Scotchman, with his rugged force and hard intellect in his head above, has a heart below capable of being touched to the finest issues. Poetry and song are part of his very nature. He is born to such a heritage of poetry and song and romance as the child of no other land enjoys. Touch his head, and he will bargain and argue with you to the last. Touch his heart, and he falls upon your breast. Such is the Scot as we find him at home.
I got a home, waiting in the heavenly kingdom, up where the streets are paved with gold. And someday you will know I'll be heading for the heavenly kingdom with a chariot to carry me home.
Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A shining golden chariot waiting there for me. It's gonna carry me home. Swing chariot's coming, sweet chariot's coming, coming for to carry me home. Chariot's coming, swing chariot's coming, sweet chariot's coming, yes it's coming to carry me home. My day is coming as sure as can be, coming for to carry me home. I hear a band of angels calling out for me. They're gonna carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Chariot's coming,
Selected lines from There Was a Child by Walt Whitman. There was a child went forth every day, and the first object he looked upon and received with wonder or pity or love or dread, that object he became. And that object became part of him for the day or a certain part of the day, or for many years or stretching cycles of years. The early lilacs became part of this child, and grass, and white and red morning glories, and white and red clover, and the song of the phoebe bird. And field sprouts of April and May became part of him, wintergreen sprouts, and those of the light yellow corn, and of the roots of the garden, and the apple trees covered with blossoms, and the fruit afterward, and woodberries, and the commonest weeds by the road, and all the changes of city and country wherever he went. His own parents, he that fathered him, and she that conceived him in her womb and birthed him, they gave this child more of themselves than that. They gave him afterward every day. They and of them became part of him. The family usages, the language, the company, the furniture, the yearning and swelling heart, the doubts of daytime and the doubts of nighttime, the curious whether and how. Men and women crowding fast in the streets. If they are not flashes and specks, what are they? Shadows, mist, light falling on roofs and gables of white or brown, 3 miles off. The hurrying, tumbling waves and quick broken crests and slapping. The strata of colored clouds. The long bar of maroon tint away solitary by itself. The spread of purity it lies motionless in. The horizon's edge, the flying sea crow, the fragrance of salt marsh and shore mud. These became part of that child who went forth every day and who now goes and will always go forth every day. And these become of him or her that peruses them now.
Good morning. In dedicating the installation of this unique and breathtaking window, we are also marking the centenary of the death of my great-great-grandfather. The window is now in the place that he had intended and will undoubtedly be a source of peace, reflection, and inspiration for many years to come. The window's final destination has only been made possible by the welcome of the church community, a committed team of professionals, and in particular, the funding of the Dunnard Fund and the Carnegie Corporation of New York. On behalf of my family, the family of the Carnegie institutions worldwide, I would like to thank you all.
When I introduced Matthew's last piece of music, I was supposed to introduce another piece first. And so that he has the opportunity to play and you have the opportunity to hear, he is going to play the aria by Flor Peters. May the King shield you in the valleys. May Christ aid you on the mountains. May the Spirit bathe you on the slopes. Amen. Please be seated. This is a cross between a dedication and a service, and so that we could finish in the way that we as a church community would finish, you are invited to join in the next piece, should you wish. David Watson is going to join Matthew. David is going to play the pipes for us, and you are going to hear Amazing Grace. The words are in your programme, and you are encouraged to join in.
Lord Lieutenant, Provost, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attendance here today. This brings this dedication ceremony to an end. I trust you have enjoyed the occasion, and in particular to hear some of the young people of Dunfermline who have displayed their talents here today in word and song. We have indeed over the range of the young to the not so young, and I can exclusively reveal that that age range goes from 15 to nearly 90 of talent that has been on display today. And I'm sure you would want to express your appreciation for all that's happened here today, and particularly for those who have entertained us so well. Would you like to show your appreciation?